The Street Fighter is 70s martial arts sleaze at its finest, and great goodness do I love every second of it. It's everything I love about Japanese martial arts exploitation cinema. Plenty of violence, gore, and shock, and it all blends together in this incredibly watchable, blood-soaked good time. The film follows Terry Saragi, who is played by the always awesome and charismatic Sonny Chiba. Terry is an absolute bastard of a badass who will do anything for money and is far from your average movie hero, with the film starting off with him breaking out a prisoner from death row for a client, only to kill the prisoner's brother and sell the prisoner and client's sister off into underground trafficking. But after the beautiful daughter of a Malaysian oil tycoon's life is put into danger, Terry and his loyal sidekick by the name of Ratnose decide to play the role of hero and step up to defend and protect the innocent maiden from the Yakuza, the Triads, and the Mafia. Like I said, Terry is not a good guy in the beginning, and he is an absolutely brutal killing machine throughout the film, but his occasionally bully-filled friendship with Ratnose and some of the more sympathetic moments with Terry throughout the film give his character some much-needed growth. Still, Terry just oozes cool, and that's due in part to just how awesome all the stunts Chiba performed throughout the film are, and just how calm and collected he was throughout the entire movie. He was the roguish fantasy escape most films wouldn't let the viewer take part as, and I commend the film for not having him just be a complete good guy for most of the runtime. Ratnose was the film's comic relief, and was fine for the most part, being the typical goofy, yet still fairly competent tag-along on the adventure. Sarari was the likable damsel who came to see the good in Terry, and the villains were all a bunch of fun, as they were just pure evil. I liked how each of the bad guys were more sinister than the last one introduced, and they all got fairly cool death scenes. The action for the movie is paced really well, with short bursts of violence sprinkled between each of the major action scenes. Speaking of which, the action scenes here, compared to a lot of the other, more sanitized and bloodless action scenes in other kung fu films from around the same time, were brutal and bloody and full of carnage. Almost every encounter would have Terry leave expendable stuntmen in bloody heaps with limbs snapped, torn out, or far worse. I mean, this movie practically invented the Mortal Kombat X-ray moves, and let's not forget the fact that Terry castrates a guy near the end of the film. Also, if you don't like any sort of gore involving eyes, you best skip this flick, because there are quite a few times where Terry will jam his fingers into another person's eye socket, or just rip out their eyes completely in a graphic fashion. The film was fairly well shot, with only a couple shots being blurry or obscured. I didn't care for the ultra-wide format the film was shot in, and every print of the film I have seen, there is not a single one of them presented in full screen, unfortunately. Regardless of that, the on-screen visuals just ooze the mid-70s atmosphere of Japan and Hong Kong, which, as much as I dislike the 70s as a time period, here it looks great with how it's shot and the natural film grain of the film's age. The sound department was a mixed bag, especially with the fact that this was the dub. Most of the lines were naturally poorly delivered or changed to be more goofy.
Would have had no way of knowing the prisoner had been taken and was being taken to
my chicken
for emergency treatment.
Lunch is ready.
By police
It's a really delicious chicken, American-style roast.
So, that's what you call karate, eh?
Oh, no. It's not true. I just had a letter saying that he was well and that he'd see us next month.
You better go faster. Get your legs higher. Higher and lighter. Higher and lighter.
You'd better shut up. Your father's a traitor, and your mother's a whore. You're no Japanese. You're a half-breed, you're scum.
Most of these are smirk-inducing, but I was at least happy most of the dubbing actually synced up with what the characters were saying.
That prisoner in the ambulance. You did it, huh?
Let's get on with what you want.
Also, at a few moments throughout the film, I think the voice actors changed up.
I'll be ready.
A little time remains. I brought a visitor, as you'll see. This gentleman is a well-known Buddhist priest. He belongs to the Buddhist League.
He's here to save your soul. He visits all the jails in the country. You have a younger brother and sister, don't you? Are there any last words you want to leave for them?
As there was a moment that Terry started to sound like Solid Snake for a couple minutes for some reason.
Don't worry. Leave it to me. Your life is on the line now. Don't act like a spoiled lady, understand?
Yes.
Come on.
Also, the main theme for the movie is incredibly catchy.
Find us up.
The rest of the soundtrack is generic, appropriate for the time music, but the movie's original song is definitely the standout track, and it's quite memorable. With all that said, The Street Fighter is the perfect movie to watch if you want a kung fu film full of gore and carnage. Do yourself a favor and get a big tub of buttery popcorn, a box full of mint chocolates, and a big thing of root beer. Sit yourself down in the most comfortable chair you have and give this a watch as soon as you're able to. You owe it to yourself to watch a glorious bit of schlock for your Friday or Saturday evening. As always, if you want to help support the channel, please consider sharing the video with a friend or checking out my Patreon linked in the description below. If you have any comments, questions, or recommendations, leave them down below as I read and reply to everything. Until next time, this is Thierry Williamson signing off until the next video. See ya guys!